Welcome to Crunch Time, a program dedicated to helping you survive the crunch times in your life, whether they are caused by accidents, natural disasters, poverty, economic recession, depression, or all-out economic collapse, or whether they are caused by your realization that today's food supply is being contaminated by artificial fertilizers, pesticides, and genetically modified organisms, and over-processing of crops into what can hardly be called food. We want to help you through the crunch times in your future by teaching you what we have learned about organic gardening, food storage, and food preparation. We'll bring you into our kitchen and into our garden and share with you what we have learned, hopefully before your crunch times arrive. Now here is Chef Francois. Welcome back to Crunch Time, where Jesus is King and all our desires are to serve Him. We are a cooking and gardening survival show, and the most well-known survival food is beans and rice. I personally have never made beans and rice. I have, however, made beans, and I do have a very favorite bean recipe that I cooked every week for a whole winter, where I tried every different kind of bean in the store that I go shopping at. So I'm going to make some beans first, and then we have some time. I'm going to put it together with some beans and rice. We're not going to use the vegetables that normally is put in beans and rice, though we're going to discuss that when it's time. We are going to make some baked beans. I like using Great Northern beans, though I have tried every kind of bean on the shelf that is at the Price Right store. And normally you have to sort out, make sure there's no bad beans in there, but I have never found one since I was young. Back then I did, but of course if you're making your own beans you'll end up finding some. Yeah, there might be one right here that's slightly darker than the others, but not much. Alright, you soak this overnight. So basically we're just going to put water in it. But if you want to start cooking late in the evening and it's already 5 o'clock now, you can hasten the soaking process by using hot water. And so we're going to put hot water in here. We're going to rinse them with hot water first, and then we're going to empty it and then put hot water in it to soak. Usually, whoops, I guess I should have a little bit more safety on that way. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to soak that with hot water, and meanwhile I'm going to pull up some of these beans that I dropped into the sink here. And you won't have to soak them overnight this way. They'll only have to be soaked for a couple hours. And when they're done soaking, I'll show you what happens. Basically, you get soaked until they start, well, first of all, they get big. And then they also, if you blow on them, the skin starts to split. That way you know that they're ready to cook. So, we'll catch you when they're done soaking. We are back with our soaking beans. They have been soaking since 5 o'clock. It is now 9 o'clock. And first thing we got to do is rinse them. So we'll pour them into this big container. We'll use hot water because we're going to want to start cooking, and cooking needs heat. So we're going to spray the beans. We could have rinsed them in here and then shushed them around, and I think this way is actually even better. Okay, we've rinsed them off. We'll put them back in the pot. And I only use 2 ingredients to add to the beans. We'll start off with a cup of brown sugar, more or less, usually more, because I like brown sugar, and a cup of preferably maple syrup, but we don't have maple syrup, so we're going to use Vermont made pancake syrup. Actually, I do have some maple syrup, I believe. Hey, I found the maple syrup that I was looking for. I thought it was a little bit bigger container than that, but we're going to use maple syrup to finish filling this cup of syrup. And it's not much, but it tastes good. And we'll just fill it up with Vermont made syrup for pancakes. And we'll mix that in with the beans and the brown sugar. We're going to need a little bit of water to rinse this out with, and we're going to need some water in the beans anyway. We're going to mix these up. Going to need quite a bit more water, so we'll just fill this up again. And maybe pour it in. Before we're done, we want water right up to the top of the beans, so we're going to put more water in. Alright, we're going to mix this up so we dissolve the brown sugar. And that is it. We'll turn it on high and cook it overnight. And tomorrow, or actually we're going to come out in the middle of the night and stir it a couple times. And then by morning we'll come back and it'll be all cooked, ready to eat. And maybe later we'll make some rice and beans with it. Okay. Oh, I forgot. We've got to add about a teaspoon of salt mixed in with this, because that brings out the flavor of most anything, sweet or spicy. Salt is very important in your food. Plus it helps preserve it as well. So we've got it on high and we're going to let that cook overnight. Okay, it is 7:30 in the morning and I didn't get up once last night to stir my beans. So let's see how they're doing. Oh boy, pretty much cooked except the water is not syrupy. But I can definitely turn it down to low. They're definitely cooked because they're falling apart. When I stir them, they fall apart. So I'm going to leave them on low. Actually, I'm going to take out a little bit of a bowl right now. With some syrup. Let it cool a little bit and then try it. They are definitely cooked enough So we are going to turn this off. Perfectly cooked beans, and I leave them in that all day and come in 4 or 5 times a day and snack on it, and that'll be my snack throughout the whole next week or so. But I am going to use some of that to make some rice and beans, which I've never made before, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try some with these sweet beans. Alright, we are preparing some rice. We have taken 1 cup of long grain brown rice and 1.5 cups or a little bit more of water. Put it on high, started boiling it, and now we're going to turn it down to the lowest setting on the stove, and without removing the cover, we're going to put the timer on at least 15 minutes. Then we'll shut the heat off completely, and we'll let it simmer some more, and then we'll scrape that out. We'll add it to our beans, add some to our beans. Well, we'll take some of the beans and some of the rice and add some barbecue sauce, maybe Worcestershire sauce, maybe some mustard, and maybe some ketchup. And we'll have beans and rice. Sweet beans and rice. Okay, our brown rice, we ended up cooking for more like 25 minutes instead of 10 minutes. Still got a little bit of water on the bottom, but I think it's pretty much cooked, and we can use that extra water. And I'm going to take some of the beans and dump them directly into the pot of rice. And I'll save the rest of the beans for just baked beans. A little bit more. Okay, and then we're going to season it. We have a whole choice of things to mix in with the beans here. We've got soy sauce, ketchup, Kansas City style barbecue sauce, we got Worcestershire sauce, we have steak sauce, and we have mustard. Any combination of those we could put in with these beans, but since these are sweet beans, we want to stay with the sweet theme, and all we're really doing is putting some sauce in here. So I'm going to use some barbecue sauce. I'm going to put in about 1/4 cup. That's about 1/4 cup to start with, and we'll see how it is. And I wanted to put some mustard as well. Maybe just a tablespoon. That'll be a tablespoon. And I'm going to skip all of those for now, unless I figure after I taste this that I want a different taste. Now I don't want to mix too much here, because if I mix too much, the beans are going to squash, and then it'll be just a mushy mess. So, we've got barbecue sauce, sweet beans, and brown rice. And let's see how it is. Just about right. Rice could have been a little bit softer. It's what I would call al dente. But I like this Kansas City style barbecue sauce. I'm going to put just a little bit more in there. Maybe 1/4 cup. So I've got a total of 1/2 cup. And that mustard did add some decent tang to it, so I'm going to add a little bit more of that too. Another tablespoon. Now, most beans and rice recipes that I've found on the internet call for a bunch of vegetables, typically onion, garlic, and peppers. I think if I was going to use vegetables, I would use onions because I grow them. I could use peppers in the summertime because they're fresh, but this time of year I might use, I don't know, frozen tomatoes, but more importantly, chunked squash and rutabaga, which is the staple for stir fry this time of year because rutabagas are fresh right out of the garden. And the squash we've been saving. I'm going to see what this tastes like now. That I could have. That's good. And I'm going to save whatever I don't eat in this little Tupperware, if you want to call it that, but it's not really Tupperware. So, if you want to put vegetables, you can add them right in. If you wanted this more saucy, you could add more ketchup or any of these other liquids and make it saucy. But for today, I'm going to have it just like that. I made some new contacts in the survival area, and I was invited to a survival store where they were doing a presentation on wheatgrass, and the lady presenting it was my UPS delivery person. And here she is.
My name is Jessie Elwert, as most of you have already met me. I'm an ecological gardener with my company, Jess Ecology Organic Gardening Assistance. I'd like to thank Dan for inviting me here tonight.
Thanks you for coming.
Thanks. To share my experiences with wheatgrass, as I'm just about to begin growing it for sale at the new health food store near the bridge in South Glens Falls, Rooted in Nature. And also thank you to Chef Francois, the man who brought the cameras, host of the survival cooking show Crunch Time. I decided to grow wheatgrass for sale this winter for several reasons. My friends opened the health food store, and that helped to motivate me because I have a place to sell it. I've always been interested in eating well and caring for my body, but there's something unique, almost mystical about this juice. It is referred to as liquid sunshine and can be ingested in straight juice shot form. And in that case, it's often you get it like a chaser of apple cider or another tangy fruit juice. It can be mixed into a fruit shake. Can be frozen into like wheatgrass ice pops. I recently heard about people that are on renal dialysis for kidneys. Sometimes they're doing experiments in hospitals giving them wheatgrass pops to suck on while they're getting their kidney treatments, and it's really positive results have been experienced with that. The wheatgrass can also be pulverized into powdered form. My testimonial for wheatgrass use is after hundreds of wheatgrass shots, it's extraordinary. I feel like my skin glows for 3 days after taking a 2 or 4 ounce serving. Many scientists have done research on what makes this sprout so special, and it's quite simply the grassy sprout of the common wheat plant, Triticum aestivum. And at this young stage of development, there's no wheat gluten in the blades of grass. The best reference book for growing wheatgrass and understanding its benefits is by a woman named Anne Wigmore. The title is The Wheatgrass Book. It was published in 1984. And I just purchased a copy of it on half.com. It's an affiliate site of eBay. I always look for books on half.com first. You can find them for so cheap. I found a copy of this book for $4.50, and that includes shipping. I mean, if you look elsewhere, it's going to be $20, $30.
$4 to ship.
So it's always a good idea, I mean, you guys probably talk about this a lot, but it's always a good idea to stock up on seeds, not just wheatgrass seeds, but any vegetables. The key words to look for on the package are heirloom and organic. Heirloom means that the vegetables can produce their own viable seeds in the future, allowing the gardener to be self-sufficient. this. So I'm going to pass around some seeds that I have. I have a package of wheatgrass seeds. If you want to see these seeds. This company that I have the wheatgrass seeds from, the Botanical Interests, they meet that criteria. And they also allow for wholesale purchases from their website. If anybody wants a lot of them, I will probably be making use of that opportunity. I also like the packets of seeds from the Mike the Gardener company. It's at averagegardener.com. These heirloom seeds are delivered to me in a Seeds of the Month Club membership. It's convenient and fun. I don't have a choice of what they send me, but it's pretty neat. My suggestion, if anybody is interested in that and uses Facebook, is to hit the like button on the vegetable gardening page, and then wait patiently for a membership sale. I got a 70% off deal by waiting patiently, and now I have a 2-year membership to the Seed Club. It's wonderful seeds. It's going to produce great vegetables, delivered every month, and it was $17 for seeds every month. And the medical claims of why wheatgrass is good for us. The lady that wrote the book, Ann Wigmore, she makes a lot of claims about the strong positive effects of wheatgrass on our bodies. She claims that wheatgrass cleanses and builds the blood, improves skin and hair, builds muscle and endurance, fights infections, lowers blood pressure, dissolves tumors, which they've done a lot of cancer research, and I don't think the FDA wants us to know that, but I mean, you can actually, maybe if it's cotton time and if the stars are lined up, or I don't know, if a cancer diagnosis can be overturned by use of this plant. It's really amazing. And it can also act as an appetite suppressant, which is nice. Wheatgrass is a complete protein, and it gives us all the vitamins and most of the minerals that we need for daily intake and well-being. When we ingest wheatgrass, 70% of what we're drinking is crude chlorophyll, which has mysterious powers in its interactions with the bodies of animals. I won't get into it, but I have an article here if anybody wants to see later about some experiments that were done with chickens. Not in a way that hurt the chickens. It was just the chickens were sick. They just happened to be sick, and they were treated with wheatgrass, and afterwards they were producing more eggs than the other chickens that had never gotten sick to begin with. I have the article if anybody wants to see it. A lot of people who grow wheatgrass around their house, their cats and dogs really like it as well as humans. And I know we're here tonight in a survival forum, so the point of wheatgrass as a survival tool would be twofold. It is so rich in nutrients, and it so completely feeds us and satisfies our vitamin and nutrient needs that it's a fantastic plant to know how to use. If there was not a lot of food available and we could grow it ourselves, we could sustain just on that for a while. So that's really helpful that we get everything we need from it. But second, it actually can, without hospitals or medicine, heal diseases and infections. It helps every organ in the body run better, including the heart and brain. This is useful for me today, like not even imagining what scenarios might come that I would need to be able to survive from. But to me, today I like to avoid doctors and hospitals whenever possible. But with the future, kind of God help us scenarios of unknown events, Being able to take our own health into our own hands is very empowering. And it's been said that water that's not safe to drink, if we put some wheatgrass into it, it actually will purify the water and can heal skin problems by being applied topically, rashes, burns, that kind of thing. And I have a little information about actually how it works. A doctor in a cancer center in Seattle, his name is Dr. John Potter, he said that food's magic is based on thousands of complex interactions of dozens of different phytochemicals which are difficult to recreate in pills. This means that the way our bodies absorb vitamins and nutrients is still a bit of a mystery. Leafy green vegetables are so healthy for us not because they bomb our systems with large quantities of isolated vitamins, but rather they contain smaller quantities of all the vitamins. And when they're introduced in this synergistic manner, the absorption and digestion occur. So rather than a grand flush happening, like when we take a multivitamin, our bodies don't know what to do with it, it's just overloaded. Like, what do I have too much information here, I'm just going to get rid of it all. But if we introduce it to our system, like some spinach or wheatgrass juice, it's more like it can comprehend it. It's speaking the body's language. It can absorb the vitamins and use them, which is the way that health can begin to happen for us. Now, when you do an online search for how to grow wheatgrass, the results, you just get flooded back with companies trying to sell you kits and instructional videos that they want you to buy. And there's lots of sharks out there looking for your money, but my family and I are do-it-yourselfers, especially with stuff that grows. So it sounds like the major problem, and that people want to spread fear about, is that mold can be a problem with wheatgrass when we're growing it. Some of the spores, if they don't generate, they don't get propagated, they can become moldy. And there are ways we can empower ourselves to fight molds. Whenever I'm doing any type of indoor or outdoor gardening project using containers, I always want to sanitize that. I usually, with hot water, a mixture of hot water and bleach and like an old used toothbrush, to just make sure that all spores, all potential infectants are just obliterated. And it's not a bad idea to the entire area that the plants are going to grow, to just sterilize it. Windex is pretty good, and rinse it out. That actually helps the plants to grow, as long as it's rinsed out well, because it's made up of the same stuff, the nitrogen that they look for in fertilizer. It's the same. Yeah, the chemical components is exactly the same.
In the last minute of our show, I'd like to tell you about the real reason for this show: Jesus Christ, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Without Jesus as my Savior, I would not be confident entering into these trying times that lay ahead. If Jesus is not your Lord and Savior, I suggest you send me an email at crunchtime@roadrunner.com and ask me how you can join the God who loves you, His Son Jesus Christ, and His disciples in everlasting life. For now, I say to you, God bless and keep you and yours. I'll see you next week on Crunch Time with Chef Francois.